Good morning. Let us discuss about the full cost pricing of Hull and Hitch in today's lecture. Because in the previous lecture, what we had done is actually we discussed about what is marginalist school, marginalism per se, and how this has been questioned basically, and how this has been defended by the marginalists and later become the alternative theorism. So before just coming to that, we need to really know about the this discussion of various kind, because otherwise what happens is that there is a disconnect between what the historical the evolution of the theories which we are discussing. So if that is the case, then let us discuss about actually why Hull and Hitch had discussed about this particular aspect of full cost pricing instead of marginalist thing. So let us look into the details of the report. In 1939, Hall and Hitch published some result of the research undertaken, especially in this case, and their study covers 38 firms, out of which 33 firms were manufacturing firms, 3 were retailing trading firms, 2 were building firms, and of the 33 manufacturing were 15 produced consumer good, 4 intermediate products, 7 capital goods, and 7 textiles. So the sample was not random in that sense, but includes firms which may well be expected to belongs to efficiently managed enterprises. So their samples are not a bad sample in that sense, and this has also been conducted basically with the help of the Oxford team. So the most startling result of the studies of the Oxford Economists research group reported by Hall and Hedge, where that firm did not attempt to maximize their profit, that they did not use marginalist rule per se, that is MC equals MR, and that oligopoly was the main market structure than the other things like the perfect competition, etc. So up to them, the theory of monopolistic or imperfect competition with Chamberlain and John had been generally accepted as typical or irrelevant in that context. So firms were assumed to be able to act optimistically, ignoring their rivals' reaction and pursuing their short-run and long-run profit maximization by equating marginal cost to marginal revenue in each time period. And that's so that the tendency the tangency solution in the long run implied normal profit but excess capacity, that is unexhausted economies of scale, was actually the case, which was the main source of criticism of the regime of monopolistic competition in that sense. So first finding of this particular study is that the firm do not act optimistically. Firms are continuously conscious of reactions of their competitors, and this behavior, obviously in contradiction to the postulates of the monopolistic competition, suggested that the oligopoly was much more widespread than had been thought up to that time. So oligopolistic interdependence could not be dealt with within the framework of the traditional theory in that sense. Now, duopoly theory based on assumptions of the constant reaction pattern of the competitors also seemed inadequate to cope up with the oligopolistic interdependence and the ensuing uncertainty regarding the demand for the product of oligopolistic firm in that sense. So Holland Hitch found that firms do not attempt to maximize short-term profit by applying marginalist rule, that is MC is equal to MR, but aim at long-run profit maximization. So firm sets their price on the average cost principle, and that is firm do not set their price and output at the level determined by the intersection of the MC and MR curves, but they set price to cover the average variable cost, the average fixed cost, and the normal profit margin. Usually they said a 10% profit in that sense. So the reason given by Hall and Hitch for the breakdown of marginalism is the following in that sense. So the first one is firm do not know their demand curve nor their marginal cost, hence the application of the marginalist rule, that is MC equals MR, is impossible due to lack of irrelevant information. And then firm believe that the full cost pricing is the the right price, since it allowed a fair profit and covered the cost of production when the plant was normally utilized. Then the question goes to Holland Hitch, that is the firm's main preoccupation is price and not output, as the traditional theory implied, and thus the firm would set their price on the basis of the above average cost principle, and they would sell at that price whatever the market would like in that sense. So although the firm in general would adhere to the average cost pricing rule, they would be prepared to depart from it if they want to secure a big order, or if they thought that they could not set this price without damaging their goodwill and endangering their future position in view of their rival charging a lower price in that sense. So finally, it was found that price of manufacturers were fairly sticky despite change in demand and cost. Traditional theory predicts a change in price and output in that sense. So in response to the change in demand and cost, this prediction was not observed in the real world, in which stickiness of price was a general phenomena. To explain this stickiness of price, Holland Hitch introduced Chamberlain's apparatus of the king to demand curve, which in fact Paul Spacey was rightly articulated in that. So the king implied the following pattern of expected reaction of a competitors witnessed by the firm that were studied. Businessmen held the belief that if they raise their price, their competitor would not follow, so that they would lose a considerable number of their customers, while if they cut their price, their competitors would follow suit, with the result that their sale would increase by an insignificant amount, as we have mentioned earlier. So the price was set equal to the average cost, and the king would occur at that price. The firm would arrive at this average cost price independently with collusion. Firms reported that they did not enter any collusive agreement in that sense in order to increase the market price because of a fear of potential entrant who might endanger the long run position of establishing a firm in that sense. So they haven't actually stopped. They said that they did not think that a collusive reduction in the price would be profitable to the group, because they believed that the market demand was price inelastic. And furthermore, businessmen were aware of the fact that frequent price changes were disliked by their customers in that. So all this aspect of free moving of price, etc., is basically, in fact, disturbed the market, and thus firm prefer to keep their price constant, except in the case of general cost increase, which affect all firms and lead to an increase of price by all. That the king in the individual demand curve imply that above the given P, the demand is very realistic, while below P, demand is unrealistic, provides an explanation of firm keeps their price constant in that sense. So various writers have interpreted the device of king to demand curve as a theory of oligopolistic behavior. This view have become so firmly established that the king to demand theory has found its place in all textbooks of microeconomics, and this king to demand cannot be considered as a theory of pricing and output decision in oligopolistic market, since it cannot explain the level of price, that is the location of the king in that sense. So in the framework of Holland Hitch report or approach, the king demand curve makes sense as a device for explaining the stickiness of the price, but not their levels in that sense. So Holland suggests that the firm sets their price independently of one another on the basis of the average cost principle, and these prices once set tended to be sticky because of the expectation of firm about competitors' reaction to change in the firm's price, which are such as to create a kink at the level of the average cost price in that sense. So this is very crucial, and it does not me seems that Holland Hitch have developed a determinant theory of pricing in oligopoly market in that sense. And although they mentioned several elements relevant to oligopolistic behavior, especially the long run profit consideration, goodwill of the firm, potential and actual competition and interdependence of the firm, average cost pricing procedure instead of marginalist computation, They did not combine them into a comprehensive theory of oligopoly. So this is actually the kind of criticism again leveled against the Holland Hitch report, because this theory is this report even actually not able to conceptual or to articulate a comprehensive oligopolistic theory in that sense. Again, while talking about that, the typical oligopolistic theory being developed later by many economists. In fact, this is what is our next lecture is on. That is on the limit pricing mechanism, which was developed by Bain. In that, we will come to that later. But however, the conclusion constituted, that is Holland Hitch conclusion, constituted a serious attack on marginalism. The reported result of the study of their sample suggests the following: that is, first, short-term profit maximization was rarely stated by businessmen to their goal. Most firms report that they aimed at a fair level of profit and that they had also other goals, such as building up their goodwill, being fair to their competitor, etc. Now, these are actually very crucial. Why? Because the later theory, which we are going to discuss, or what you call the alternative theory, is in fact all based on this aspect. And second, the demand curve and its price elasticity on which marginalism so heavily relies are unknown in practice, because neither consumer preference nor competitors' reactions are known with certainty. Most firms are oligopolistic who are faced with uncertainty concerning their customers and their competitors. Given this uncertainty or uncertain environment, the demand schedule cannot be taken as known. Hence, marginal revenue schedules are unknown to the businessman. This is actually their second criticism. The final or the third criticism: marginal costs are also unknown in the multi-product firm, which are typically in the modern business world largely realized, or what you call the modern corporates are actually kind of this one. And the fourth point is, even if MC and MR were known, the firm aimed at the maximization of their short-term profit. The adherence to this quality equality would require continuous change in the price in view of the continuous changes in cost and demand. Such frequent changes in price are not desirable, and the price have exhibited considerable stickiness despite change in short-term cost and demand in that sense. So, with this, let me conclude the intro to criticism against marginalism. This is actually, in fact, it is not only simply a criticism leveled against the marginalist school, but also it had given or food for thoughts to have a better and ideal understanding about the improvement of the theories of oligopoly, theories of firm, theories of business organization, etc. So this is also given a sort of confidence again to the neoclassical, though it was been highly criticized, but this had in fact strengthened their understanding of a firm, and their rethinking. It in fact inspired them to rethink about the possibilities of firm, and they came up with many new narratives of firm in that sense. So this is what is actually we are going to discuss in the alternative theories of firm. That's it today. Thank you for your patience, and thank you so much.